My father, his father gave love based off of performance, and unknowingly he became the same way. It's interesting how so often we can become the very thing that we don't want to become when we're trying to do life on our own. And my dad was saved somewhere around 40, and he had built up this path towards doing things on his own and became the very thing that he didn't want to become. Um, Performance-based love, legalistic, ruling, overbearing, had kind of become these things. Just a tough guy. And cancer broke down that identity. It took him to a place to where he started to embody the fruits of the Spirit. He started to live in Jesus. He started to have the Holy Spirit dwelling in him. The best way for me to describe my father's relationship and I before cancer and through cancer is through football, something that we both loved dearly, loved playing the sport. Whenever I was young, I was very good. He was the coach, and so it was something that I could earn love, I could receive love, make my father excited, kind of be like my father's prize, and so went through that and we had a lot of fun together, all growing up, and then later, from middle school time period, I wasn't the best player anymore, and there was some disappointment. I could sense the disappointment in my father, and that lasted up until probably junior year. And junior year was whenever I started being good again, and had a pretty good junior to senior year. He wasn't around much. I didn't really get the same love and I guess rewarded with love as I did whenever I was younger. And then I was good enough to end up making it to college, which was the question that I would ask my father the whole way through, and got to play in college. And my sophomore year, I ended up getting to be really good, and I told him he wasn't invited to come to any of my games. And the reason that I felt that way was, I guess, I had earned that love through the sport early as a young elementary school kid, and then I kind of lost that love and sometimes would even get punished for my performance on the field up until sophomore year. And then junior year I started getting good again. Senior year I was good as well. And then, but whenever I got to college, I was playing at another level that I had never played at before. And part of me wanted to make my dad feel, part of me wanted to feel I made it and I'm on my way and you don't get to enjoy it. And this is mine now. And it's no longer ours. This is something that I get to enjoy. And he wasn't invited to any of my games until what actually had to be my last game. My dad came up there and he didn't care what I said. He just came anyways. And I was on the field for like 30-something plays straight, the whole third quarter and halfway through the fourth quarter. And I ended up collapsing, and I ended up having to get taken off the field, having to do this whole dramatic thing, just being so exhausted for being in so long. And it blows my mind to this day that the only game that he ever saw in college was my last game when I had to get carted off the field and everything. And so after that, I ended up quitting. I guess I was kind of just trying to find myself. I had my identity in football all growing up, and I was just trying to figure out who I am, what my real identity is. I got real involved in school, started studying a whole lot harder, taking full loads, and I guess that was another area that I could perform at a high level and earn his love again. Started bringing home really great grades, 3.8s, 3.6s, stuff like that, and that was working. That was earning his love. That was getting me what I wanted. I always wanted to figure out a way to earn my father's love, but yet still do it my way. Like, I wanted to get great grades, but I also wanted to smoke weed and go rock climbing and go mountain biking and wakeboarding and everything like that, and hang out with friends all the time and just have a blast. So I guess I always tried to figure out my dad's baseline, what the baseline was. So if I do this, then my relationship with you is okay, so I can do anything else that I want to do. And and so I guess grades became the baseline. So I just did whatever I wanted to do as long as I did well in school. When I first realized that the severity of cancer and everything that was going on, my mindset was more on the family and also pretty self-centered, because around that time I also fell off of a cliff and broke both my feet. He had his first surgery, trying to remove everything going through in his first treatment, and a week later I fell off of a cliff rock climbing and broke both my feet, and that's what had us sitting on the couch together for 2 weeks afterwards. Whenever I was a senior in college, I smoked a lot of pot, and I also had just started taking a lot of pain medication that was prescribed to me because of the fall. So between those two, I went from living in the day to living in the night. Whenever he had just had that surgery, and I was sitting next to his hospital bed, and he's just beat down and broken. It really wasn't any anger of what had happened so far. It was regret and sorrow for the things that I had done, forgiveness on the things that he had done, and that was probably the first conversation that we ever had about forgiving each other. Ever since then, it's been a process of forgiveness. It probably took 2 years before we got to enjoy the forgiveness, because forgiveness isn't easy. It's not something that, you decide to forgive each other in a very vulnerable moment where, your dad's sitting on the operation table and just got done with a serious operation, removing a very serious health risk, and could potentially die. And so I decided that I was going to forgive him. He decided that he was going to forgive me.
I think that because of their faith and response and trusting in the Lord in the face of that evil cancer, God made it good, So it wasn't from God, it was what God did with the situation. And he made them better than before the cancer. I don't know if they would be where they are right now if it weren't for that, which is kind of a crazy thing to say, but that actually does make the cancer a blessing. It allowed him to see firsthand, in the face of one of the worst things, a family could get, how awesome God can be, how awesome God is, and the results that you get from putting all your, eggs in that basket, fully trusting in God and having that faith to where everything around you is a crazy, uneven storm, but if you just hold onto that, everything is going to be okay. And that has affected him, oh my gosh, in such a big way.
Oddly enough, my dad dying was really never a consideration. It was more, I guess, because I had seen my dad have the heart surgery and come out on the other side. Um, it affected our lives for a period of time, but then life went back to normal. Um, and I guess that's kind of the lens that I viewed cancer as well. I just viewed it as, I don't know, I guess the way that I had viewed my dad, the way that I had been brought up, my father dying was never really something that I heavily considered. My brother and my dad had kind of a different experience through high school because my dad had been saved for a longer period of time for most of my brother's high school experience. And so whenever I went into the hospital room after my dad's surgery, we talked more. It was more healing than anything else. There were a few wounds that we had between each other that I had inflicted, that he had been responsible for, and I was responsible for, and just a lot of mutual regret, mutual forgiveness, mutual apology, sorrow for what we had done to each other.
Tyler's all about results. He's just such no, well, I got to see it to believe it. The proof is in the pudding kind of thing. And him seeing his dad be this constant, everybody has their bad days, but constant, unwavering faith is what totally made Ty start to be, what's the word, receiving. Like, okay, he's not just full of it. He's not just telling me this because he's my dad and he doesn't want me to go jump off a cliff because he used to go do all that. It's real, and he saw the change in him. And just like anybody, it's a light that you're drawn to, and he saw it, continues to see it, and he wants it. It was because of the change in his dad that made him who he is today.
It made me realize that change is possible. It made me realize that God is for real. God will take what was difficult, frustrating to live with to life-giving. And now my father is just the most supportive, the most forgiving, the most loving, just an amazing man. And it's fun to do life with him. It's fun to grow up with him. And it's easy to forget about all that stuff. Even now, we're having this conversation of all these past memories and all these. It's hard for me to even remember a lot of the stuff that I felt back then, because it's almost like two different lives. It's two different people that I'm talking about, and it's two different versions of myself that I'm talking from the perspective of. So revisiting all this stuff, it's hard to even remember, and that's how deep the forgiveness has gotten. Forgiveness is something that takes time and takes healing, takes love, and I suppose we decided that we would forgive each other the day that he was laying in that hospital bed.
So the change was already there when I met him. It was thriving, and it's been thriving, and that's what I've gotten to see. During the years when Ty was away, he was a rebel in and through, adrenaline junkie, smoking pot, just, lost and on his own, not really taking his dad's advice, not even really hanging out with his dad, just nothing. Now, the change that is happening in Ty, that's all happened in Ty, that continues to happen in Ty, really is manifesting because of the change that his dad went through.
I'm happily married to the love of my life. We've had such an amazing experience together. It's amazing to kind of get to that point to where you're not completely fixed, but a lot of the repairs have been made. You need that person, your other half, your counterpart, to help you complete the repairs, which is an amazing experience. It's a challenging experience as well, just as much as forgiveness is, but it's also just as rewarding as forgiveness is. One day I'm sitting in church, and I'm sitting on the same pew as my parents. Is actually right after I got back from John Eldridge Wild at Heart boot camp, and I'm sitting on a pew with my parents sitting next to me, and this lady gets up on stage.
She is this little tiny cute blonde, and she belted out soul sister type of singing, and it made me turn to the person next to me and say oh my gosh,
that was amazing. And I did kind of one of these. and it was Devin sitting down the row, sitting on the other side of my mom. And so finish up with a sermon, service is over, we walk out, and I decided, hey, just got back from Wild at Heart, I want to still want to focus on things that are going on. So I actually walked all the way to the truck, got in, started my truck, and sat there for a second, and I just realized, man, I got to go in there. I just felt this pull on my heart, felt the Holy Spirit telling me I got to go in there. So turned the truck back off, walked back in, and Devin was walking through the lobby. And I just walked up to her and tapped her.
Top of my shoulder. My whole family is with me, standing next to me, my dad, my mom, my sister, my aunt, uncle, everybody. And I turn around, and this super cute guy is just hi, I'm Tyler. What's your name?
I had never seen you here before, and shook her father's hand that day and met her whole family. And that's how we met.
And that was how we met. I could immediately sense that him and his dad had such a close relationship, him and his mom even, the way he had always talked about them. Usually guys our age don't really care to talk about their family, and they're just so involved in each other's lives now that I loved that. It was so refreshing to have a good relationship with your family. The closer that they get, the closer that they're getting, the more Tyler wants to soak up everything that his dad has to say. One thing that I just thought was amazing, I had never heard a young man say, I want to be like my dad. It's really affecting in a positive way our relationship, because he sees how his dad and his mom are. He sees how his dad respects his mom, and vice versa. And so if and when we get in, situations where it could be, it could go disrespectful route, or it could go positive, respectful communication. And way more times than not, Tyler will seek out his dad's opinion on something that we're going through, And that helps us. So the closer that they get, the better it is for us too. So it's awesome.
Do you think that your life and your marriage to Tyler is significantly different because of cancer and because of not cancer so much as what Alan allowed God to do?
Yeah. Oh, of course I get emotional. I know that our marriage, I feel so blessed, and I feel like I don't even deserve that. This awesome man. But I have it, and I'm just so thankful. But our marriage is really awesome, and I know it's because of the influence of his parents. We're both so blessed with these amazing parents, and as Tyler, the head of the household, and a young man trying to start his path in the world and start up our family one day, it's a big deal for him and us and our future family to have that solid relationship with his dad and faith in God from where they all were, not even allowed to go to the games, all of their issues that they had, to I want to be like my dad. Man, I can't wait to raise a son. I can't wait to do this. It's just such an honor, I feel, and it's such an amazing thing to see and to be a part of. With these people in my life, they opened my eyes. I want to have their faith. If I were to get diagnosed with cancer, would I be able to have that type of faith to where I'm not really that concerned because I know my God's got my back? I don't know. I'd like to hope I can. I'd like to hope that I would, but it's been awesome to have them in my life. I can't wait for Ty to be able to have that type of relationship with his kids, his son.
Forgiveness isn't something that you decide to do one day and then the next day is easy. Forgiveness is something that you decide to do one day and then the next day is harder than it was before. And then the next day it slowly gets easier, but you have to go through a period of time to where what was swept under the rug is no longer swept under the rug.